My dad chose my stepmother over his kids. She recently passed, and now he wants back in our lives. Original post. Okay, some backstory here. My parents divorced while I, 26 male, was still a toddler, and most of my childhood was spent between both parents and my older sister Trish and brother Ron. Until I was a teen, my parents were great co-parents, and we were all close with our dad. Then he met his second wife, Susan. They had only been dating for a few months when they decided to get married. Immediately, things changed. When my siblings visited, she demanded that we call her mom, and she had this deep dislike for Trish. She called her fat, smashed her phone for writing hurtful things about her to her friends, and after checking over her homework, if she saw anything wrong, she would just rip the paper up. When our mom confronted Dad about it, he just made up a stupid excuse about Susan being a strong woman and that Trish could learn from her. After that, Trish just stopped visiting and Dad told her to grow up. Ron, meanwhile, went through a rough patch after he graduated college and he broke up with his boyfriend. Since he couldn't afford a new place of his own, he moved in with Dad for a bit but left after a few weeks. His entire time there was just Susan telling him that his degree was a joke, that he was pathetic for still living off his parents, and she would even mock him for flaming if he got excited over something, telling him he was too flamboyant. After he left, he told Dad that he expected an apology, and that he did not deserve to be treated like garbage by Susan while his father just watched. He just said that Susan was part of the family now and that he stood by his wife. Ron kindly told him to never speak to him again and went full no contact. With me, I never took any of Susan's BS, and if she would say something to me or make a comment, I'd just ignore her or leave the room. This made her mad, since I always assumed she lived off the drama she caused when Trish would cry or Ron got mad. Instead, she cried to Dad and told him that I hurt her deeply and that I made her feel unloved in her own home. Dad took her side, and the last time I was at his house involved him screaming at me and calling me an ingrate. We got into a shoving match and I stormed off and went to a local fast food place until my mom could come get me. After that, the contact we had was pretty much him calling and asking about how things were. He didn't even come to my high school graduation or Trish's wedding because he and Susan were saving money. We all came to accept that Dad chose his new wife over us, and while it hurt like hell, we moved on. Finally, just before Thanksgiving, Susan passed away suddenly and it hit Dad hard. Since she had little family and they had no friends outside each other, he is pretty much alone now. Trish invited him to dinner with her family a couple of times, but he's a stranger to her kids, and her husband hates him because of how he lets Susan treat her. Ron was the only blunt one and told Dad that he can't just come back after everything. Right now, I'm just confused, and I don't know what to do. The only contact I have with him is through Trish, and she thinks that Dad is still deeply mourning and that he wants his kids back in his life. Since I don't use social media or the internet much, dirty hippie stuff, my friend is posting this for me so I can get some outside perspectives. I remember how my dad was before he got married and I miss that side of him, but at the same time I know he threw us to the curb for her. Now for the top advice before reading the update. If I was in your shoes, I personally wouldn't just let my dad come swanning back into my life immediately, like the past few years didn't happen. He let his wife treat you all like crap and said nothing. He is your dad, for goodness sake. How can he act like that? He is only back now because he is alone, through his own doing, and had his wife not passed away, he wouldn't be there. However, if you can forgive your dad, then great. Maybe just see how he initiates contact with you. Does he apologize? Does he seem like he is remorseful, or does he just think things are going to be back to normal? His response will tell you all you need to know, if you don't already know now. Past few years. Sounds like it's been 10 years or so. OP said he was a teen when this happened. Yeah, the last time I was at his house was when I was 17. After that, our only contact was over the phone. Did he apologize at all? If he didn't even apologize, I'd be afraid that the same is going to happen as soon as he meets a new woman. He didn't apologize in a sense, but he says that he misses us and that he missed out on too much. He didn't even know that my sister had a second kid until recently, and she said that it hit him pretty hard. I hope you guys understand that he only wants to come back because she died. If she was still alive, he would still be ignoring you all. I know this. When they were together, they were bitter people that pushed everyone away. Susan even had 3 adult kids that hated her, and only one of them came to her funeral. Right now, my brother and I think that we are just his backup. Now for the update. Wow, all I can say is thanks for all the advice last time. I guess what I wanted was the father I thought I had, but since I posted this, a lot has happened with my family. 2 days after I made this thread, my sister's oldest kid decided that he wanted to surf down a hill on his sled when his mom was busy with his brother. Something only a 10-year-old would think is smart. He ended up breaking his wrist and his leg badly enough that he needed multiple operations. He is doing better now, but Trish is exhausted taking care of him, and on top of that, she's pregnant with her 3rd kid. This has left our dad at the bottom of her concerns, and he has not taken it well. When I spoke with her, she said that he was driving her crazy and kept trying to guilt-trip her, saying, "You can't find the time for a widowed old man," and basically being a huge pain in the butt. My brother said that he pretty much accepted that our dad would act like that when he wasn't the center of attention. I guess that being the youngest, I was shielded from his behavior even before he met Susan. Ron said that our dad would call him a fag multiple times as a kid, and that when he did come out to the family, Dad just told him to shut up. I should also mention that even though he struggled a bit after college, Ron ended up getting a pretty decent job with a high salary. After Susan and our dad found out, they tried to bill him for the few weeks he lived with them, and even threatened to call the cops. He ended up giving them a couple thousand to get them off his back, and went full no contact. There were also more incidents I mentioned in the last thread. He offered to watch his brother's kid after his own wife died, but backed out at the last second. That brother now refuses to have any contact with him as well. And I also found out that the only reason he agreed to co-parent with our mom was because she told him that if he didn't spend time with us, she would go after him for more child support. I was beyond disgusted. After talking with my girlfriend and she read some of the replies in the thread, she suggested that maybe he and I should go out for lunch and just see how it goes. Since we will only be in town for another month before we go off-grid until the fall, I agreed. I knew that I would regret it if I didn't go, and it was eating me up inside. It was the most awkward moment of my life. I met him at the diner he chose, and I was pretty shocked to see how much he changed. He gained a lot of weight since the last time I saw him, 100+ pounds, and he looks decades older than his real age. Plus, he kept making comments about the way my girlfriend's dreadlocks looked dirty, and made a rude joke about me looking like Charles Manson when I showed him our pre-engagement pics. Finally, after he was done complaining, I asked how he was doing. He just said, "How do you think?" He just listed off how his wife was dead, his kids won't give him the time of day, he's up to his eyeballs in debt, and even whined about the poor service in the diner. After lunch, he offered me a ride back to my place and offered to put my bicycle in the back of his truck too. The only kind thing he said. I turned him down and told him to take care of himself. I just don't think I can have any sort of relationship with him after all. I talked with my girlfriend all night, and she said that maybe I turned Susan into a scapegoat for my dad's rotten behavior, and that I didn't want to accept the type of man he really was. Right now, I'm focusing on the positive things in my life. My nephew is recovering well, with a 3rd one due in the summertime, and my girlfriend and I are planning to get engaged shortly afterward. My dad's rejection still hurts like hell, but I plan on working past it. Good for you. I mean it sincerely. Your dad obviously didn't learn his lesson. He is screaming for attention. Well, he is not a kid anymore and there are consequences. I feel sad for you. Your dad sounds like mine. I have forgiven my dad because he is dying, and I just don't want to get mad anymore. My own dad finally started showing some compassion when he realized he's going to die alone. Turns out he's still an a-hole though. Only last week did he send me paragraphs of text telling me how much of a failure I am and how I will never be successful. Because that's how you support your kids. I just replied to your old thread saying take some time and space to evaluate. Forgot I was browsing the before story. I think you've got the mythical closure that people sometimes aim for. I've recently had a similar conversation with my brother, where I realized that the relationship I want to have with him just isn't going to happen. What can you do when you tell someone that they've hurt you with their actions and they reply, "Well, I'm an a-hole. I admit it. I'm not going to change." It upset me, but also gave me peace. I don't have to keep trying to work on this relationship anymore, trying to find the right words or actions to help us connect. It's not my fault it isn't working. Your eyes have been opened to your dad's crappy behavior. It's helping you explain some of the things about your childhood. I think your girlfriend is right about how you projected all the awfulness onto Susan. If she was the driver for it, your dad sat back and let her. As it turns out, it was more birds of a feather flock together. I'm glad you gave him a chance to hear him out, even if you didn't like what you heard, because now you know the reality of the situation and can deal with that, rather than what ifs and what might have been. It sounds like you have loving relationships around you. It doesn't sound like you'll repeat the patterns of your childhood with the next generation. Last story. My son cut contact due to his stepfather. I divorced my ex-husband when my son was 11 years old. We had 50-50 custody. I remarried to my current husband 2 years after that. My current husband and my son did not get along, to say the least. Even when I was dating him, they remained aloof with each other. My son was anxious in interacting, but was still respectful toward him. My husband saw dealing with my son as something he signed up for if he was going to continue to be in a relationship with me. My husband still kept his distance from my son. Things got worse after we got married. My husband would avoid my son when he came to visit. He soon started criticizing him and became harsh with him. It could be occasionally getting a snack from the fridge without asking, or sometimes forgetting the lights on in his room. He said I should cut down my visitations with my son. I asked him why he hated him. He said he doesn't hate him, but dislikes him. He hates the fact that he's introverted and awkward. My husband said it's already enough that he tolerates him. He kept antagonizing my son. He would say things like he should get a job during high school because he is going to be out of the house at 20 at best. I always stood up for my son and admonished my husband in private and told my son not to take it seriously in the heat of the moment. My husband laid off my son when I got pregnant with our daughter 5 years ago. By that time, my son already felt alienated. I admit I always prioritized my relationship with my husband over my son. I made more effort in spending time with my husband than my son, whether it be doing our daily Friday date nights, going out as a couple only every other weekend. We did more couples-only vacations in a year than family vacations, not including the occasional weekend getaways. I understood this made my son feel second place, but my son didn't understand that eventually he would start a life of his own, but my partner is still going to be with me. Yes, I could have spent more time with him, but no parent is perfect, and it's always a struggle to keep a balance. My son became distant from me and focused on his studies more. That paid off at least, since he got a huge scholarship for our flagship state university. He relied on student loans to pay the rest of tuition. He cut me off the day he was supposed to come back from winter break. He cut me off by email. He wrote this: "Dear Mom, I don't want a relationship with you anymore. Your love holds little to no value to me anymore. I don't resent you for divorcing Dad. I don't resent you for finding love again and wanting to get remarried. However, these past years I've learned an important lesson. I've learned that the relationships one holds on to play a role in their identity. You can't say you love me more than anything in the world, yet love a man who treats me like an unwanted burden. I resent you for making him my stepfather. I resent you for making me treat someone who hates me being around like an authority or parental figure, even though he hasn't earned it. I resent you for always choosing him over me. Don't call me anymore. Don't visit me. I have a great life in college with new friends. I guess I am not the weirdo with no friends that the crap stain of a human being who you call your husband said anymore. And I still have Dad who loves me. Goodbye forever." That message still haunts me. I tried calling, but my number is blocked. When I attempted to visit him, he wouldn't let me in his dorm, and finally threatened to get a restraining order. That's when I backed off. My mother, his grandmother, is the only connection I have to him and my sister's Facebook. My mother was the one who told me he was double majoring in mechanical engineering and physics, and he was currently doing a PhD in physics in an Ivy League. My sister allows me to log into her account to see pictures of his life. When I saw his graduation pictures, with only his dad invited or pictures of his friends, I just burst into tears. Can I still get him back? I'm sorry, but you're making excuses by saying when your son builds a life, you will still have your husband. Fact of the matter is you don't know that. People get divorced. Relationships end. It seems like your husband made no effort and you chose him over your child. I don't really blame your son. It sounds like your husband treated him like a burden, and you let him. Now you're going to have to deal with the consequences of that, which is not being a part of your son's life. Which is a shame because he sounds like a driven, amazing guy. My daughter's father did to her what you did to your son. Talking to my daughter, I doubt she'll ever want to rebuild her relationship with her father, and I doubt your son will either. You're reaping what you've sown. I just hope that you choosing your new husband over your son will not damage your son for life. My dad did the same to me. I attempted to let him back in and he repeated the same actions. See ya. No coming back this time. Sorry, but you allowed your husband to treat him like crap and you expect him to want you around? Doesn't work that way. I hope your son gets the counseling he needs to move on, but kudos to him for placing higher value on his own self-worth. I have to agree with most of the responses. Similar situation for me growing up, and while I never cut off my mom, I did cut off my stepfather due to his repeated put-downs, insults, and negativity. It finally came to a head when his bizarre behavior affected my own kids. I ended my relationship with him completely, and it was the right thing to do. While for my own benefit, I forgave him. It was during my final talk with him after 10 years of silence, and he was on his deathbed. While he provided for us materially, and I learned many things from him, none of it was worth the price of my peace of mind and the anxiety and depression he caused me and my brothers and sister. For his own sake, not yours, I hope he learns to forgive you. Whether this includes ever speaking to you again is up to him. So until if or when this happens, you should cease being yet again selfish and leave him be, as he wishes to be, alone.